is just say, I'll see you down the road. And I do. I see them again. And I can be certain in my heart, I'll see you again.
Jessica, I'm Carmen from the magazine. I would like to start asking you, how was your first approach to this community of nomad people?
The first time I met people in person was actually at the Desert Rose RV Park in Fernley, Nevada, which shows up in the film. So it's wild to see it again. But the first time I met people in the community, I was talking to people who worked for Amazon's Camper Force program out there in Nevada, and it was at the RV park in Fernley. The second time was when I went out to the desert in Quartzsite, Arizona. And that's where I met Linda May and a bunch of other people, some of whom ended up in the film.
Now, please tell me about the research process for the book. And I would like to know in general terms, how was this experience for you to go aboard on the Van Halen down the road?
Oh, it was fantastic. And it started before there was a Halen. It started with a tent. I was working on a story for Harper's Magazine, and they offered to put me up in a hotel for 2 nights in Quartzsite. And I said, I'm not going to learn anything if I only go for 2 nights. This is the kind of reporting where you need to go deep. So I brought a tent, and I had a tent and a rental car, and I spent about 2 weeks in the Sonoran Desert, which is how I ended up at the Rubber Tramp Rendezvous for the first time. You see that appear in the film. And when that magazine story came out, it was on the cover, and people were so interested in it. And I still had so many questions that when I got to expand it into a book, it was wonderful. It was just great to have that time, because you have more time to go deep with a book. You can really be with people and become part of the furniture and learn so much more from the inside, what it feels like to be in their world. So I was really grateful to have that kind of time and to get out there. I mean, the book was a 3-year process, and I drove more than 15,000 miles. I was all the way from the East Coast to the West Coast, from the Canadian border into Mexico. I visited Los Algodones. So yeah, a lot of time on the road.
So did you keep traveling like during 3 years?
What I would do was I would go out in the van, and then I would come back home and write. So the longest I was in the van at one time together was 2 months. And I think that was actually very good, because I couldn't write in the van. Later I figured out it was because I did not heat the van well enough, and I was just kind of too wiped out from reporting. And also, it was just easier to focus when I took myself out of the situation, and I felt like I could see where I had been a bit more clearly when I stepped away. So it was constantly kind of going in and stepping back. And that helped me. As an immersion journalist, you don't want to get so close that you can't see things anymore, that you just normalize everything. So for me, the in and the out is very important.
And what was the biggest lesson from writing this book and living this experience?
Yeah, I like to joke that some of the best writing advice I got wasn't from a writer. Linda May taught me that you can do just about anything for 10 more minutes. This was a lesson that she used when she was working in an Amazon warehouse. And just seeing her resilience and creativity, there were so many times when I was working on the book and thinking, well, gosh, if Linda May was able to get through this one day I'm writing about, I think I can get through this chapter. So getting to be out there and to learn from them, and again, that resilience and creativity was really helpful for me.
You mentioned Linda May, and in the book, the protagonist is not Fern, but Linda May. So I would like to know, why did you decide to focus more on her?
Well, Fern isn't a real person, so I couldn't have focused on Fern even if I wanted to. There was no Fern. But the reason I focused on Linda was, first of all, Linda was a wonderful person to document. When Chloé first asked me if I thought she'd be good on the screen, I don't know what makes somebody good for a film, but what made her good for me is that she was the same with me that she was with somebody at the grocery store with her daughter. She didn't put it on for an interview. She wasn't pretending to be someone else, and she was very natural. And I think that transferred to camera. So that was one thing. Another thing was Linda had this really interesting goal. She wanted to build something called an earth ship, which is this sustainable eco house, and was doing what she could to get there. So it gave us a real story we could follow. And she was going through many of the places that I wanted to visit and I wanted readers to visit as we explored this world. When I met her, she was still new to it. So I figured by following her, I could learn about it and explore it with readers in a way that wouldn't feel pedantic and lecturing, because we could just see it through Linda's eyes as a newcomer and share it that way. So Linda was wonderful to tolerate me for 3 years. We still talk all the time. We were on the phone yesterday. So.
Wow, that's a great story. Now let's move on to the moment when the book is made into a movie. How was this first rapprochement with Chloé Zhao, or how did you know that it was coming to a movie?
Yeah, well, at first I heard there was interest, and I have so many friends who do nonfiction who've actually been approached with interest about film or possibly television, and then nothing ever happened. So I thought it was neat that there was interest, but I also kept myself on a steady diet of low expectations just because I didn't want to hope for something that might not happen. But then once Peter Spears and Frances McDormand optioned it, things moved quite quickly. I met Chloé Zhao for dinner. We talked about the process, and I told her, look, the way I think about it is I've been working, I started reporting in Empire in 2011. I've been working on this stuff in some way for more than 3 years, just going way back. So I have a lot of material. And I think about it like I'm in a kitchen, and I've got a lot of ingredients in the closet that I've been gathering for years, and I'm going to put them on the table. And you are this amazing chef, and you're going to make some sort of meal, and I'm sure it will be delicious. And, my job is to give you as many ingredients as I can. So that was what I tried to do. And she's a damn good cook.
I know.
Metaphorically.
Yeah.
I don't know if she's a good cook, literally, but.
She has proven that. But so this is the way that you were involved in the movie, in the production of the movie?
Yeah, so I was a consulting producer, which meant I tried to approach it in a very open-hearted way, just sharing everything I could about the process, from photos. You'll see it. There's a bulletin board, I think, at some point in the movie with little notes tacked to it. And that was something they reconstructed from a photo I shared with them, like little details like that kind of got mulched in. And I also introduced the team to a lot of people I've met on the road. The person who hugs Frances in that first scene is somebody I met in 2011 back in Empire, Nevada. He worked at the gypsum plant in the town that shut down. So it was my job to kind of bring these people and this research to it that I think really helped it interact with the reality of the history and the people. And I was pleased that they were able to use so much of that.
And I would like to know what was the reaction when seeing the movie for the first time, and knowing the fact that it has won so many awards till now.
Yeah, the first time I saw it was a little bit before it came out. And for me, seeing Linda May and Swanky and Bob Wells on the screen doing so brilliantly well was the thing that probably moved me the most. I was very choked up because so many of the scenes felt familiar to me. Just sitting in the van at the parking lot, eating up some dinner, it gave me a tremendous sense of deja vu, and obviously I loved it. Watching it win all the awards has been crazy. I mean, I don't know what else to say but that. It's wonderful to see these stories get validated just by the fact that they're in a film. But then when the film does well, seeing that validation for the people that I met and those stories that they shared is really fulfilling.
And finally, Jessica, after this analysis of a way of life that shows you the result of the economic crisis, or a way of healing, or just looking for freedom, what would you like to be the main message that people keep after reading and watching Nomadland?
Yeah, I feel like at least in America, people are really good at assuming that when they see each other, they know everything about each other. That, you know, I look at you and, oh, you're this type of person, you're that type of person. What gets me excited is when people look at each other and say, that other person is somebody with a story, and I want to know what that story is. And I hope people take that kind of curiosity and compassion with them after they read the book, after they see the film.
Well, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Carmen.